Many thanks for joining us here on Newsdesk. To our very first story this hour, and the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools is threatening to close down senior high schools across the country for the 2016-2017 academic year following government's reluctance to pay subsidies. According to CHAS, high schools across the country are currently struggling to manage their affairs because government has delayed in the payment of subsidies to the schools. Now here's National President of CHAS, Cecilia Kwachi Kofi.
It's actually not a conference, it's an emergency meeting to address some of the issues or concerns we are facing in the schools in respect of the unpaid absorbed fees, unpaid feeding grant. In fact, absorbed fees and feeding grant have not been paid for second and third term, and next week we are about to vacate. So we need to address these concerns, need to be addressed. And we also have unpaid scholarships and then unpaid progressively free scholarships. All these monies are standing. There were also issues raised by members about high utility tariffs and how it's affecting the schools. In fact, some of the schools are being harassed by the utility companies. So these are some of the concerns, and also there was the issue of feeding fee of 1 Ghana cedis 10 pesos, which attracts 17.5% VAT and 3% withholding tax. So for every meal a child parent pays for 1 cedi 10 pesos, which is woefully inadequate because the price of Gary alone has risen from 2 cedis 40 pesos to 10 cedis per American thing, which everybody is aware. So with a rising increase in goods and services, it is just proper that the fees are also increased, and then the outstanding indebtedness of government are also paid so that the schools will be able to function. And the consensus this afternoon was that until government pays all these arrears and increases the feeding fees, it will be extremely difficult. We cannot reopen school next term for 2016-2017 academic year. That is the conclusion that has been drawn by the entire membership of CHAS. The senior high school feeding fee is a feeding grant from 3 northern regions, and then Northern Volta and Northern Bonga-Hafo. That is feeding grant paid by the Ministry of Finance, and that is different from the absorbed fees, which was part of the school fees absorbed by government. So the absorbed fees is actually our fees, school fees, which was on the bill. But in order to give parents some respite, it was absorbed by government to be paid. And this is in the tune of about 50,000 per term per school on the average. So if you have 2 schools, 2 terms outstanding, is about 100,000 per school. Absorbed fees alone. I'm not talking about the feeding fees. Absorbed fees alone. That is where it's going. And then so with the scholarships, we have a lot of students who have even left school and their scholarships are not paid. This is government of Ghana scholarships.
Well, the Education Ministry is this morning holding a media briefing to respond to some of these allegations being made by the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools in the country. They are expected to touch on most of the concerns that have been raised and measures being put in place by the Ghana Education Service and indeed the Ministry of Education to ensure that there's no closure of schools ahead of the 2016-2017 academic year. We have our reporter who is currently on the grounds. Jennifer Kioma will be speaking to her in a bit. That is, as soon as the press conference begins, we'll be speaking to her to get more on what exactly it is that the GES is doing to avert this possible closure. To some other stories now, and the Association of Civil and Local Government Staff has declared a nationwide strike over government's failure to pay up interim allowances owed the association. Clocksack will begin the indefinite strike from Wednesday, July 27, after successive meetings with government to resolve the problem ended without a compromise. Executive Secretary of Clocksack, Isaac Bampo Addo, tells Joy News unless a compromise is reached with government before the stipulated date, members of the association across the country will fully withdraw their services.
Met with the Honorable Minister Haruna. I think Fair Wages was there, Minister of Finance was there, and they've all agreed that there has been an error somewhere, and we're going to look at our issue. But as we speak, as at now, we don't have any favorable or we've not come to any favorable conclusion. So that's why we are declaring the strike action.
Have you exhausted all the legal means available to you before? I mean,
we've exhausted committees upon committees that has looked into this issue, and all has come to the same conclusion that we've not been treated well, we've not been treated fairly, but for equity to prevail, we should also be given an interim period.
Wouldn't you have waited for a while so deliberation could have at least?
We waited for more than, since we migrated on civil finance about 4 or 5 years ago. We waited almost 6 years.
Have you considered the impact this industrial action is going to?
We are looking at our pocket. We are looking at the, now civil servants are wallowing poverty. The Cohen report that brought in a single spine salary structure came out that civil servants were the lowest paid in the public services, and the differences are widening. It's of concern to us. That's why we've taken this action. We cannot wait any longer.
So what would you say will bring you back to the negotiation table?
We also deserve to be given the interim period. That's what we want equity.
So my question is, what will bring you back to the
They should give us the interim premium. They should also give us the interim premium. Then we'll come back to work.
So it appears quite a number of industrial actions are looming, and we see how government responds to all these, particularly seeing that we are in an election year. But speaking of elections, let's talk about that constitutional amendment that has to do with the elections. And this morning, Parliament will begin what is expected to be a heated debate on the proposed amendment of the Constitution to allow the Electoral Commission hold this year's elections in November. Now, ahead of the debate, Joy News is learning of the possibility of the minority side withdrawing their support for the amendment. Already, the Speaker, Edward Dojaho, is worried further delays in the consideration of the constitutional amendment bill will have serious consequences on the proposed November general elections. The report of the Legal and Constitutional Committee on the bill will be taken in the coming minutes, and we'll be bringing you more on that in a bit. And as you can see, these are live visuals from Parliament, the legislative arm of government, and they are today expected to do what it is they were supposed to do yesterday. Well, in fact, it's been, today happens to be the third day that very postponement has had to happen. It has to do with the changing of the dates for elections in the country from December to November. It was supposed to have been done on Tuesday. It was postponed to Wednesday, and we are expected to have it happen today. We are expected to see that very discussion take place in Parliament today. But this is a live footage you're seeing from Parliament House here in the capital, Accra. It appears once again members of the House are yet to be seated and yet to begin the business of the day. As to whether they will be coming anytime soon, we are keeping our eyes on that, and once they are in and they are ready, we'll bring that to you. That will be a live coverage of happenings in Parliament today as well. You're watching News Desk here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you some more stories, particularly with the rural sector.